All right, I'm in practice problems 3 for truth tables. Okay, so here we have an argument. This argument has one premise, S and T, and the conclusion is T. And we're indicating this is an argument by using this turnstile, this symbol right here. The idea is what comes before the turnstile is the premise or premises. We just have one here, but it might be multiple premises in other situations. And what comes after the turnstile is the conclusion. Okay, so other than having this extra column underneath the turnstile, everything else here is the same, so I'll just fill this in. All right, so once we have all of the columns underneath the letters and the connectives filled in, we need to fill in this column here. And basically what we're doing is the same thing that I was showing you in the previous video. We're checking for good lines and bad lines. And again, you should have that page, or it might be in your version of for all x, might be over 2 pages, but that page that has the definition of valid and has those guidelines for when a line is a good line and when it's a bad line. You should have that in front of you. Okay, so here on the first line, the premise is true. I'm looking right here, and the conclusion is true, so that's a good line. I mean, really, these should be checks and X's like I had in the video. And I think that Graham, the guy who's created this software, is going to change them eventually. But for right now, we just have more trues and falses. So T indicates a good line. F indicates a bad line. It's not really the same as true and false, though, since a line can't be true and false. Okay, but anyway, this first line is a good line, so we put a T there. Okay, line 2. Premise is false and the conclusion is false, so that's fine. Line 3, the premise is false and the conclusion is true, that's also fine. And then line 3, line 4, the premise is false and the conclusion is false, so that's also a good line. All right, so we check it just like we do always. It's fine, and so we submit it. All right, let me do I'll do this one. Okay, so now we need to fill in this, and we're looking at this column here for the first premise, and we're looking at this column here for the second premise, and then this column here for the conclusion. Okay, so on line 1, the first premise is true, the second premise is false, and the conclusion is true, so that line is fine. Line 2, premise 1 is true, premise 2 is false, and the conclusion is true, so that's fine. Okay, line 3, this is true, and this is false. Okay, so that's a bad line, so we put an F there, or if it gets changed, that would be an X. Okay, line 4, false, true, and true, so that's fine. Okay, and submit. All right, let me also, okay, so those were the practice problems. Let me do one of the real problems with you. I'll do this one. Okay, so this is homework 4. Okay, so just one premise, P and Q. So in line 1, the premise is true and the conclusion is true. So that's fine. Line 2, the premise is false, conclusion is false, so that's fine. Line 3, the premise is false, conclusion is true, that's fine. And then line 4, the premise is false and the conclusion is true, so that's also fine. All right, so this argument is valid, because I haven't mentioned that. So if these are all true, or they should be checks, but if they're all good lines, then the argument is valid, so this argument is valid. Okay, so I might make another video, but I'm going to stop right here. If you have questions, of course, you can email me, but good luck.